all of you.
Kaieteur Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Burbies 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Good day, welcome to News at Noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Let's get to the news in detail. Following his review of Guyana's local content legislation, New York-based attorney-at-law Dr. Vivian Williams said its framers must be commended for capturing the spirit of nationalism in the document. He firmly believes that it adds tremendous value to Guyanese citizenship. Unfortunately, he posited that there are certain legal loopholes which can hinder its effectiveness. Specifically, the lawyer contended that the law does not give the local content secretariat the overarching powers it needs for proper enforcement to avoid abuses and ensure maximum benefits are achieved. Alleging massive corruption across the region, community activist Veersamy Ramaiah has once again resigned from his government-appointed post as Region 6's coordinator. Ramaiah submitted his resignation about a month ago, and it will take effect from October 1st. The activist said that he gave up the post because the government is allegedly turning a blind eye to corrupt practices in Region 6. This is not the first time Ramaiah has resigned from the government appointment owing to corruption allegations. Under the APNU-AFC administration, he was appointed as Regional Executive Officer of Region 6, but he resigned shortly after he realized that corruption was taking place in the region, he said back then. When the PPP took power in 2020, both President Irvin Ali and Vice President Bara Jagdeo approved his new post as coordinator of the region. But according to Ramaiah, the corruption has gotten worse than the last time the PPP were in government. The activist said, and I quote, "This 2 year is worse than the 23-year period when they were governing as the PPP." And moving on, there have been different views about the participation of ExxonMobil in the country's first offshore bid round set for the end of this year. But it appears that the company too is undecided as to whether it will seek more oil blocks during the competitive bid exercise. In fact, information from international media, Reuters, is that the oil company will not be making a decision on its participation until it sees the fiscal terms attached. A comment from an Exxon insider said that the company is uncertain whether it will bid for new offshore areas Guyana wants to explore. The insider told the international media that the petroleum powerhouse is also waiting for the economic terms to be known before deciding on whether it wants to expand on its current acreage. And moving on November 9th, Detective Sergeant Dion Bascom will go on trial at the Georgetown Magistrates Court on 3 cybercrime offenses resulting from his expose of alleged corruption in the investigation into the murder of businessman Ricardo Fagundes. Now, Bascom had filed a criminal private charge against the crime chief Wendell Blanham in relation to statements he made, but the Director of Public Prosecutions, Shalimar Alehak, discontinued the charge on September 15th. The day after the charge was filed. Following the DPP's decision to discontinue the charge, Bascom and his lawyer disclosed that they intend to challenge the DPP's decision. And on Wednesday, Chief Magistrate informed the court that the DPP did not outline any reason in her letter in relation to her discontinuing the private criminal charge against the crime chief that was filed by Bascom's lawyer. Notably, Hughes is contending that even though the DPP has the power to withdraw charges, her constitutional power is premised on the fact that she acts reasonably and not capriciously, noting that there should be a legal basis and foundation for her actions. And now let's tell you, police Wednesday night recaptured 37-year-old Alvin Reed, also known as Satan, of Nimrod Street, Ansgrove, East Coast, Demerara, who had been on the run after his accidental release in 2019. Back in 2016, Reed had been accused of killing 14-year-old Malika Hamilton of Hope after her body was pulled out of the Hope Canal on April 12, 2016. She had been reported missing after being seen alive going for a swim with Reed and another male. And now let's tell you, the only contractor that submitted a bid to construct a primary school on the Wakenham Island in Region 3 has proposed to do the job for $58 million more than the engineer's estimate, which is set at $90.7 million. During the opening of tenders yesterday at the NPTAB office, it was revealed that the Ministry of Education project loan contractor Dundas Construction Inc. placed a bid of $148.6 million to construct the school. And now let's tell you, workers of Blairmont and Eidflot estates staged picketing exercises outside of their respective estates, calling on the management of Kaieteur to treat them equally with their colleagues and to have fairness in their policies. At Blairmont Estate, the field 4 men and 4 women were peeved about the decision by the sugar company to selectively award pay raises, the workers' union GAU said in a press release. At Eidflot Estate, workers from several departments picketed to register their dissatisfaction over unequal treatment. At that estate, workers highlighted that some of their colleagues received reportedly large pay increases in recent times. Meanwhile, a woman is injured and her house destroyed by fire following the explosion of a pressure pot at her wooden home at Crabwood Creek, Upper Currentine, Berbice, Region 6. Homeless are Nalini Sarju, her husband, 47-year-old Hemchand Bacchus, and their 2 children, ages 11 and 7. The fire service did their best, but nothing could be saved. Bacchus found his wife injured, and when he asked her what happened, she recalled that a pressure pot had exploded, burning her in the process and then igniting their house. With the time now moving on to 12 hours 11, we close things off with the page 7 of today's Kaieteur News, dedicated to, of course, being blunt. Take a stand against domestic violence. Domestic violence has become such a scourge in Guyana that a week does not pass without us reading in the press the gory details of a woman being abused at the hand of her partner. It is a frightening reality that must be prayed against, with each and everyone joining in a campaign to stamp it out. Not a meaningless sloganeering from government leaders, but real work in our communities to arrest our men folk, some of whom continue to treat our women less than human. Reading the horror story of Sharon Scott of Ansgrove, who ended years of torment at the hands of her husband, who ended his life as well, as that of his son, Sion Scott, on Wednesday, is more reason for us to unite against this demon called domestic violence. The worryingly, even alarming statistics of domestic violence generally don't capture the extent of physical abuse, let alone the often equally as damaging psychological aspects of it. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225